Today I want to explain something to Christian presups that I've recently realized. I'm someone who has spent a lot of time studying presup deeply for years, and I've realized that it makes absolutely no sense for a presup to actually engage in debate on the issue. While that may seem counterintuitive at first, keep in mind that the conclusion of presup is specifically that God's existence is not debatable. Presup deductively justifies that all non-biblical worldviews entail that debate isn't possible. That's the entire point. And like all deduction, this means presup is something to be taught, like calculus, for example, not debated. Because the moment that a presup engages in debate with an unbeliever, it entails that he's violated the conclusion that he's arguing for. Just by doing that, he's made the error of falsely granting the unbeliever that his non-biblical worldview entails that debate is possible in the first place, which directly contradicts the conclusion being argued for. Hilariously enough, the majority of presups actually allow people to dispute their belief in God all day. Then, they turn around and vehemently refuse to allow anyone to dispute their belief in heliocentrism. Just think about the implications of that. Presups who do that are literally showing that God isn't actually their ultimate through their actions. The preferential treatment necessarily entails that God can't truly be what they hold as ultimate, because they're instead treating something else, something other than God, as what's indisputable and infallible. These choices and actions come with a necessary logical entailment that God can't actually be what they hold as ultimate. Instead, the worldly authorities that taught them heliocentrism are worldly, man-made authorities such as governmental agencies and mainstream academia. And that's why they get so emotional and obstructionistic if anyone dares to dispute heliocentrism in their presence, because their actual ultimate authority is being disputed. I'll show you an example of Darth Dawkins, a Christian presuppositionalist, doing exactly what I just described. While watching, keep in mind that Darth likes to brag that he's debated atheists for over a dozen years, meaning he's proudly boasting that he allows people to dispute his belief in God on a daily basis for over a dozen years straight. But what about his cosmology? Does he allow people to dispute that?
Refute the spheroidal geodesy dilemma in the open chat.
I don't debate flat Earth. You guys are whack jobs. Are you a flat earther?
Yeah, that's what the God has
Good,
revealed.
yeah,
so
you're
refute
a whack
the dilemma.
job. Have a nice day. You're not welcome to talk about the flat Earth.
It's not an argument, Darth. It's not an argument. Not an argument.
See what I mean about the preferential treatment? He welcomes people to dispute God all day, every day for a dozen years. He even encourages it. But if anyone dares to dispute his particular cosmological theory, well, then he says,
you're a whack job. Have a nice day. You're not welcome.
And it's not like this is just a one-time event. Here he is doing it again.
I don't waste my time talking with flat earthers. Okay?
What's your opinion on them?
I think the vast majority of them are trolls, and those that aren't trolls are whack jobs.
But it gets worse. Darth is directly violating the principles of Presup by doing this. Presup specifically posits that worldviews are systems of interrelated and codependent beliefs. Meaning, you can't isolate out any primary category of your worldview like cosmology and treat it as independent of the rest. They're all reciprocal and codependent upon one another. So it contradicts Presup for Darth to present himself as someone who debates worldviews, but at the same time, isolate out cosmology like it's off limits. Cosmology is a primary category within worldviews, along with epistemology and metaphysics. So his arguments will sometimes include his presupposition of heliocentrism, which hundreds of millions don't believe. Here's an example of him doing this.
Depending on where you are to the equator, you're roughly traveling anywhere from 700 to 1,000 miles an hour.
Well, I don't know that.
The Earth is rotating on its axis. You don't accept that?
Well, my God-given senses tell me otherwise.
Okay. Are you a flat earther?
Enemy spotted.
I don't identify with any label like that, no.
Okay. Okay. Do you believe that the Earth is somewhat of a sphere?
I believe we're enclosed in a hemisphere, yeah.
No. Do you believe the Earth is spherical, like the moon is spherical?
I do actually, yes, I do, yeah.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
do you accept that the Earth is rotating on its axis?
I haven't seen the evidence for it personally, but
Okay, have a nice day. You're a whack job.
okay. Thanks.
Hey, Darth.
Well, as you just heard, that guy wasn't even a flat earther. He just said he hasn't personally seen any evidence of Earth rotating on its axis. That's it. And yet the reaction from Darth is exactly the same. This shows that to Darth, it's ultimately about something much deeper than just flat Earth. It's about Darth's actual ultimate authority. The power structures of the world, such as mainstream academia and governmental agencies. And that's why Darth says things like, "I hate conspiracy theorists." He likes telling atheists of his hatred for conspiracy theorists, partially because he's desperate to be taken seriously by secularist academics, but also because conspiracy theorists dispute his actual ultimate authority. So, of course, he hates them. Anyway, Darth says that he doesn't debate flat Earth, but he actually does. He brings it up often during his lengthy monologues, totally unprovoked. Usually just to do a drive-by attack against flat earthers. And yes, I mean the same tactic of drive-by attacks that he screams and swears at atheists for doing to him. But occasionally, he'll actually give his arguments. He only does this after first muting his interlocutor to ensure that his fallacies can't be invalidated. Finally, here's his arguments. Given his outrageous arrogance on the issue, expectations should naturally be very high. So let's hear his knockdown, totally indisputable arguments for heliocentrism.
See, these people are whack jobs. There's overwhelming evidence in many different approaches to the sphericalness of the Earth. Okay, if the Earth were not spherical, okay, then how do we explain, as one of many examples, that people in the northern hemisphere see a different set of constellations comparison to the people who are in the southern hemisphere? How's that happen?
How would we be able to navigate it all if people didn't know the shape?
Look, like I said, if somebody's a flat earther, either they're a troll or you have mental, emotional problems. You're a whack job, okay? And it's pointless talking to these people. They're nuts.
These are just obvious appeal to incredulity fallacies that any Logic 101 student would immediately recognize. He's essentially saying, I can't immediately imagine or understand how X and Y would work on a competing cosmology, therefore my cosmology is true, which clearly doesn't follow. I'll be real with you. I refuse to believe that someone as logically competent as Darth truly believes that he made a valid argument for heliocentrism by asking questions about a competing cosmology like that. There's just no way he's actually this stupid. He can't be. Because he invalidates this exact same fallacy, just with a variable changed, when atheists do it against him for over a dozen years straight. So he's shown that he understands the fallacy. But I'm supposed to believe that he suddenly forgets, just because the topic changed? Give me a break. The problem isn't that he's stupid. The problem is pride. His ego causes him to accept invalid reasoning as if it's valid because he wants to feel right. A common reaction to cognitive dissonance. Either that or he's being purposefully deceptive. No wonder he always makes sure to mute his interlocutor first. He doesn't want anyone pointing out all the fallacies he's committing. Here's another one.
I mean, the ancient Greeks were able to figure out that the Earth, its curvature, and had a very good, accurate understanding of the diameter of the Earth as much as they could, simply based upon measuring how shadows were cast in different locations at the same time of day.
Wow. He's appealing to the ancient Greeks, meaning he's just blindly regurgitating what his ultimate authority mainstream academia taught him, without any critical thought of his own. Most viewers won't need me to point out that this is just a textbook begging the question fallacy. If you presuppose a flat Earth and a local sun, instead of a spherical Earth and a distant sun, the math is exactly the same for the shadows. So the measurements fit both cosmologies in contention. Meaning, even if we assume Eratosthenes was a real person who really did these measurements, something Darth can't even justify but blindly believes, even then, it still wouldn't support his position in any way. He's just begging the question. And worse, this is something anyone would know if they bothered to do even just cursory research on the issue before running his mouth off publicly. It's day one, flat Earth material.
Right, but Darth, I think it's fair to say that it's pretty well established that ancient Hebrew Israelite cosmology is that of a geocentric flat Earth model, is it
Bam.
not?
Bam.
No, that's simply absurd. A flat Earth? Where'd you get that from?
This is surreal. This isn't even a controversial point among the academics that Darth worships. He asks where he got it from. Yet Wikipedia alone provides numerous academic sources stating that the ancient Israelites envisaged the universe as a flat disc-shaped Earth floating on water heaven above, underworld below. Here are the citations. This is information anyone can find in literally 2 seconds and isn't controversial to either side of this debate. But then there's Darth Dawkins, who says,
No, that's simply absurd. A flat Earth? Where'd you get that from? And you say geocentric. Where does it say that the Earth in the Bible is the center of the cosmos?
Well,
Where does it
just
say that?
suggests that it's state.
Where?
Right.
Okay. Do you understand? Okay, before the Copernican revolution,
Yeah.
there was the Aristotelian or Ptolemaic view, and that view was that the Earth was the center of the universe, and that the sun and the moon orbited the Earth. Okay. Now, where does the Bible unequivocally teach that the Earth is the center of the heavens? Where does it teach that?
two problems here. First, Darth is using double standards in the application of criticism, a top symptom of pseudo-skepticism. He's doing this by expecting the Bible to unequivocally state that the Earth is the center. Does he apply this same standard to his belief in heliocentrism? Of course not. The Bible doesn't say anything about the sun being the center, anywhere. It doesn't say anything even remotely close to it. Yet, Darth believes heliocentrism, violating his own standard. Second, he's stuck in the false dichotomy of Ptolemy versus Copernicus, as if those are the only two options. That's why he falsely interpreted his interlocutor's reference to geocentrism, as if it must be a reference to Ptolemy's model. Worshippers of mainstream academia are almost always stuck in this false dichotomy. But in reality, nothing about geocentrism is exclusive to a spherical Earth. Geocentrism just means that the Earth is the center of the cosmos. Flat Earth is geocentric, as his interlocutor tries to explain.
Well, to clarify, by geocentric, I just mean the Earth is stationary and it's only the sun, moon, and stars that revolve.
No. But it says that the Earth will not be moved.
Right.
It doesn't mean that the Earth is not. It doesn't mean that the Earth is stationary. It says the Earth will not be moved. That doesn't mean that the Earth is stationary. It says the Earth will not be moved. That doesn't mean that the Earth is stationary. That doesn't mean that the Earth is stationary.
Woe unto them that call evil good, and good evil, that put darkness for light, and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet, and sweet for bitter. Woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes, and prudent in their own sight.
Anyone who's familiar with Darth will surely have heard how vitriolic he gets when atheists are evasive, obstructionistic, or worst of all, if they don't directly answer his questions. What really triggers him the most is if they answer a different question than he asked, while putting on a pretense that they actually answered his question. He throws public temper tantrums over it.
I'm just not putting up with this bullshit that the atheists give, okay? Because it's a tactic to obfuscate. It's a tactic to prevaricate, because they're deceptive little scumbags.
He interprets it as deliberate deception and invariably goes on long, profanity-laden rants about how atheists are all pathological liars and deceivers. Well, check out what Darth does when asked for his response to flat Earth arguments.
What's your biggest response, like your main response to them about like the horizon and like boats going under?
There are too many empirical observations that are completely inconsistent with a flat Earth. Okay. Look. If they're not trolling, where they just get off on being contrarian, then to believe in a flat Earth, you're a whack job. Okay.
Interesting. He clearly answered a totally different question than he was asked. Here's what Darth has to say if his ideological opponents dare to do things like that to him.
And then people wonder why I get pissed when somebody's so rude and obnoxious and they become argumentative like they're a little 14-year-old girl at the cafeteria table.
And you definitely not that?
No. I'm pissed because I'm an adult and I'm dealing with a childlike mind of a 20-year-old who should be acting like a mature young man. Okay? I'm pissed when people treat me badly. Okay? Yeah, the point is this. I don't use being rude or obnoxious or deceptive or being evasive as tactics. Okay? My opponents do. See, this is the problem with young males who are atheists. They sit there and they memorize a couple of talking points and they think they're brilliant philosophers, and they don't realize that these talking points are simply cliches. They're not substantive. They don't hold up upon examination.
Did any of Darth's arguments for heliocentrism in this video hold up under examination? Were they substantive? Of course not. I invalidated every single one of them as a fallacy or obfuscation tactic. Well, not only that, but they're the same fallacies and obfuscation tactics that he regularly screams at atheist teenagers for. And it's the same thing if you click here and watch this other video I did on Darth and his resistant non-belief regarding biblical cosmology. It's the same exact hypocrisy and pride. In both videos combined, he hasn't given a single non-fallacious answer to the question. Heliocentrism is true because, for anyone who thinks I'm being too hard on Darth as a fellow Bible believer, keep in mind that Darth is not a typical case. He's blatantly abusive to the atheists he debates. He shows no patience whatsoever to others who are having trouble understanding complex concepts that they haven't researched properly yet. He acts like they're always just purposefully lying and trying to manipulate people, when, in reality, many of them just aren't understanding. Sure, some of them may be manipulative deceivers, but many aren't, particularly the teenager atheists that he goes on lengthy, abusive, profanity-laden rants about. So the purpose of these videos is to show how humans often behave when they're uninformed and don't realize it, combined with experiencing cognitive dissonance when their deeply held beliefs are disputed. I'm showing that Darth is no exception to this, even though he arrogantly thinks he's immune to it. He's actually one of the most severe cases, handling cognitive dissonance far worse than the majority of the atheists he screams at. In many cases, the pride and hypocrisy coming from Darth is even more severe than those atheist teenagers. At least they're willing to engage in debate on topics they don't agree with, providing an opportunity to learn and become informed. Darth, on the other hand, is so prideful that he refuses to even engage with anyone disputing heliocentrism. And as I covered at the start of the video, Darth's preferential treatment of allowing people to dispute God, but not heliocentrism, has very serious implications regarding what his ultimate authority actually is.